this is Raven. I'm a survivor of a 16-year marriage to a covert narcissist or someone with a personality disorder. I'm not sure whether he had NPD or BPD. He has not been officially diagnosed by a healthcare professional. This is simply my opinion of his behavior based on a 16-plus year marriage. The tune you heard right before that was Disco Inferno. I thought it was kind of appropriate for the subject matter of this video. This is a follow-up to my video where I did called Being, I think it's Be Gray Rock but Not a Doormat. And several people who had listened to that video heard the story about my daughter being in a room with no windows and how it's a fire hazard. And several people had suggested that I call the fire marshal, and I did. I did call the fire marshal, and I'm going to let you know what happened. To give you a little bit of background information, about a year ago, when the narc had moved his new supply in, his girlfriend, with her daughter, who is the same age as my daughter, he immediately decided that he was going to move our daughter out of her room that she had been staying in at his place and build her a new room. He was going to give her room to the girlfriend's daughter and move her out. So he took a loft area in his condo, which is basically a very small area that's really designed to be like an office or something. And he put up temporary partitions, not even sheetrock, just like temporary building material, and encased this loft area, which is basically the size of a walk-in closet. It's very, very small, and made it her room. This is your new room. Well, of course, my daughter was upset. Well, I should say our daughter, but, she was very upset because she lost her room. Well, I didn't call the fire marshal at the time because I'm still scared of this guy, or at least I was. I was scared of what he might do if I called the fire marshal and said, hey, this is a dangerous situation that she's in because she's in a room with no windows. And, according to the fire code, they're supposed to have a window and a door, to get out of a sleeping area. Well, I was afraid to do anything because, he is dangerous. But also, at the time, we were going back to court to change custody, and he was giving me primary custody. I think it's just he doesn't want his kids around all the time. So I didn't want to screw that up. I didn't want to make him mad to where he changes his mind all of a sudden, like, I'm suing you for full custody instead. I didn't want that to happen. I wanted to get primary custody. So after some of the things that he's done over the past few weeks, towards our daughter, mostly ghosting her. He's mad at her because she talked to her counselor and told her counselor why she's doing bad in school because she doesn't want to do her homework. She's trying to make him mad because she's upset that he put her kittens outside and they died, which did happen, but he's trying to go back now and reframe it and say that, that it didn't happen that way. Well, it did happen that way. His new supply girlfriend had 2 large dogs, so when they moved in the 2 large dogs, he took the little kittens that had never been outside, they didn't know what outside was, and threw them outside. Well, and of course, they died. So she was mad about that. She was mad at him for, losing her room, for having to sleep in a windowless, basically walk-in closet. But there are all these things. She was mad because he's constantly bad-mouthing me when they're over there. So she had pointed this out to the counselor, and then instead of him saying, okay, we need to sit down and work this out, instead he got mad at her, and he's like, he didn't even want to talk to her, and he's like, she doesn't ever have to come back to my place if she doesn't want to, I wanted to say, like, you promise? You promise that she doesn't have to go back? So, anyways, I called the fire marshal, and I said, this is what's going on, and I'm concerned that my children, are in danger. At least my daughter's in danger when she's staying at his place. And the fire marshal called the building code inspector. And he said, yeah, we'll get on to this. We'll get on to this, right now, this afternoon. Well, they called him. And I knew that they had called him because I was sitting in the car at my daughter's piano teacher's house. And we're sitting out in the car. My son and I were trying to do his homework while she's in her piano lesson. And I get a text from Narc. Have our daughter call me ASAP. I'm like, well, she's in her piano lesson right now. And he's like, have her call me as soon as she gets out of her piano lesson. I'm like, oh, the shit has hit the fan. So she gets out of her piano lesson. I decide, you know what? No, she's not going to call him right now, because as soon as she gets out of, piano lesson, we have to, go home and change clothes, and then she goes to her swim lesson. We kind of get everything done in one afternoon instead of having activities every single day after school. And I didn't want her to get upset before her swim lesson, and I was going to actually talk to Narc myself. I was going to, at least text him or email him or whatever. I don't want to talk to him on the phone. But when we get home, he texts me again. He's like, why hasn't she called me yet? It's 5 minutes after 5. Why hasn't she called me yet? I'm like, I'm not even answering him. I'm not going to answer him. We're getting ready for swim lessons. Well, instead, he uses FaceTime, and he FaceTimes her on her iPad. And, she's all excited. She's trying to show him, like, this stray cat that we have that comes around here that she loves to play with. And she was trying to show it to him, like, look at the stray cat, and she's so pretty, it's this long black hair stray cat. And he's like, that's fine. You know what? Your mommy called the fire marshal today, and she had the fire marshals call me, and because of that, you no longer have a room at my place. And my daughter's like, okay. He's like, I'm throwing away all your furniture and all of your things and all of your clothes because you don't have a room anymore. When you come to stay at my house, you're going to sleep on the trundle bed in your brother's room. And so she immediately starts crying. She's like, you're going to throw away my Pokemon cards? You're going to throw away Blueberry? She's talking about her stuffed animal, Blueberry. Like, you can't throw away Blueberry. You can't throw away my Pokemon cards. And so then he says, what serves you right for complaining to everybody about your room that I built you? Serves you right. You're going to stay with your brother from now on. You don't even have to come to my place if you don't want to. Well, at that point, she's crying. Tears, she hands the iPad to her brother, and I was in my room changing clothes because I exercise at the YMCA while she's taking her swim lesson. So, I've thrown my clothes on. I hear half this conversation. I hear half of the conversation, at least the part, about what I just told you. I don't know what else he said before that. And she's handed the iPad off to her brother. She runs off to her room, slams the door, and she's crying. And I'm like, great. She has her swim lesson tonight. They're practicing diving. It's like, ugh, he just ruined her swim lesson. And so my son is sitting there like, Dad. And he says, tell your sister she does not have to come to my place anymore if she doesn't want to. And my son, he talks so fast, my ex. He just talks so fast. Sometimes you can't understand him. My son's like, Dad, I didn't hear you. What did you say? And he's holding the iPad up. Tell your sister she doesn't have to come to my place anymore since she doesn't like her room. And my son's like, but Dad, wouldn't that make it uneven? But if I go to your place and she doesn't go to your place? And he's like, just tell your sister. And so my son, he like hangs up the iPad, and I'm like, he doesn't even want to talk to me. He picked a soft target. He picks our daughter to yell at. And then, he, pulls her brother into the argument, like, tell your sister, blah, 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 blah. Well, he has not talked to me about this at all. This has been almost a week now, and he hasn't bothered to talk to me at all about the fact that he's going to make a girl who's going to be 12 years old in a week sleep in the same room with her 9-year-old brother, while the soon-to-be stepdaughter has her own room down the hall. I mean, how ridiculous is that? And, she's been crying off and on all week, and she's like, I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to talk to him at all. She's so mad. And I kept telling her, it's like, I don't think he's going to do this. I really don't think that he would throw away all your stuff. If he does, he's going to be in trouble with me. And, and then she says, no, he'll be in trouble with Nana, because Nana bought all of that stuff, which she's right. I mean, she's got his number down. She knows that, he didn't buy any of that stuff. All that stuff was bought by his parents because, he's so poor right now. He has no money. So, because of that, I decided I'm not playing around with this guy anymore. I'm not. A couple weeks before that, he had stopped paying child support. He made a partial payment, and I called up the state wanting to know why was there a partial payment. I thought, that you guys were enforcing this now. And I come to find out that no, they're not enforcing child support. He signed up to have payments sent to the state and then sent to me, but they're not enforcing it. So I don't know if my lawyer was supposed to set up the enforcement or his lawyer. Somebody dropped the ball. So I told him, yeah, I want to set up enforcement because, you know, I can't spend $5,000 on another lawyer to find out why he's not paying child support. And, you know, so they told me, why don't you call him up and see, you know, why he only made a partial payment. And so, you know, I email him. It's like, hey, why was it a partial payment this time? And he's like, oh, the bank must have made a mistake. I'll make sure that they credit the account. I'm like, yeah, the bank made a mistake? I don't think so. So then when no payment showed up when it was supposed to, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm done. I'm done playing around with this guy. So I filled out the paperwork to have enforcement on child support. Because, you know, sometimes being gray rock, you know, people think that that means that you're supposed to just kind of roll over and be a doormat. And I'm not going to be a doormat anymore. This man is ruining the relationship with his children. He's being a bully to our daughter. You know, he's not paying his child support. And I'm not going to be gray rock about that. I'm going to be very assertive about that and find out why he's not doing what he's supposed to do. But I'm also going to stand up for my kids. So I don't know what's going to happen now, if he really is going to make her sleep in the room with her brother. I don't know, but I'm going to wait and see what happens. And if he does, I'm going to take further action. I don't know. That may be calling DSS. I don't know if they, you know, handle things like that. But I just wanted to kind of give you an update that that's what happened. You know, the narc didn't retaliate against me. He chose a soft target. He retaliated against our daughter. Now, but that's the way narcs are. You know, I think sometimes they, you know, he really is like what my therapist said, that he's a dog with no teeth who just bites. You tries to bite. He's barking. You know, no bite. But I'm going to continue to be gray rock, but not a doormat. Well, that's all for now. Be vigilant, be safe, take care.